All right, first question says, if a woman asks for divorce and the husband denied her, how can she get the divorce? And simple, a woman asks for divorce and she has a legitimate reason and the husband says no, then there's a way for her to get the divorce through her guardian, through her local imam, to investigate the situation and to make sure that the husband has no reason or excuse for denying his wife's request. Yes, there's a way. There's no doubt about that. Now you may ask, well, why does an investigation have to be made? Why can a husband say no? Why does a man have to see? Why does it have to be a valid reason, etc., etc.? I think both men and women know the answer to that question. And a man asking for divorce. What's important is there is an Islamic legitimate way for a woman to seek divorce when her husband refuses. That's a fact. Wallahu alam. Assalamu alaikum, Mufti. Are we allowed to be in the masjid on our menstrual cycle? If so, do we need to sit on something like a chair? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm of the opinion is that it's lawful. And there's no authentic proof that prohibits a woman from being in the house of Allah once she's on her menses. The proofs and evidences are either clear but inauthentic, or they're authentic but they aren't clear. So it's lawful, and she does not need to sit on a chair. She can sit on the floor of the musalla. Of course, anything of dirt and filth is to be prevented from the house of Allah. The house of Allah is supposed to be prevented from anything. And from that is isbal. Men, and I don't want to go too far off the topic, but it's very interesting. Most Muslims today feel that it's haram to pray with your shoes on. And they demonize a person who prays with their shoes on, let alone this masjid, let alone certain cultural norms, which are well known. Of all the different masjids that I've been in, I've never seen a greater emphasis on no shoes besides the masjids of certain cultures, certain people. You know what I'm trying to say. No problem. Shoes are dirty. It's going to disrespect the masjid, etc., etc., etc. Cool, khairan. But when a man's pants are beneath his ankle, walking under his shoes, his pants drag in the ground, drag in the street, go to the hammam, etc., etc., and then he does what? He walks on the carpet. Is that not dirt and filth? And that's why you find many people, before they pray, they roll their pants up. So the man's filth that he brings to the masjid, that's okay, that's all right. But the filth of a shoe, the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, no, that's haram. And also a woman on her menstruation, she's going to make the masjid dirty, so on and so forth. That's also shamed and shunned and condemned. We're either going to take a full, totally blind approach to all things dirty in the house of Allah. Nothing can be on this sacred, holy carpet unless it's clean and pure. Brothers' smelly feet, brothers' dirty pants, a woman on her menstruation, etc. You guys get the point that I'm trying to make? So for a woman, if there's no issue of soiling the carpet or nothing, that's fine. She doesn't need a chair. And of course, I don't need to lecture you or get into the ease and the availability of and managing herself in 2022. Much different how things were back then. The availability for the poorest woman to take care of her hygiene and sanitation. Wallahu alam. Are we allowed to touch the Quran with Arabic tafsir on it when menstruating, i.e. tajweed mushaf? The answer to this question is similar to the previous question. I'm of the view is that that's also lawful. Wallahu alam. Rulings on traveling as a group of sisters who mahram to Umrah. What about seeking knowledge? There's room regarding that. Many scholars allow that. The Prophet clearly prohibits it. And the reason why those scholars allow a woman to travel without a mahram is they say that the wisdom and the hikmah behind it, hadith, is a woman being unsafe and a woman being threatened. So if a woman is safe and she's not threatened, then she is allowed to travel if there is a need for that. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Seeking knowledge, making hijrah, or making hajj or umrah, which is very difficult, waiting on my father, waiting on my brother. My brother doesn't pray. Then what? My father doesn't make salah. My father doesn't want to go to make hajj. My father's trying to take all my money, etc. Wallahu alam. Same question with regards to a woman who's menstruating coming to the masjid. And what's important is, if a woman is going to come to the masjid while she's menstruating, make sure you try your best to avoid any cultural clashes. Because you may come from a culture in which they follow a madhab that states that it's haram. And you're going to look like the oddball. What do you mean you can come into the masjid? Who said that? Our madhab doesn't state that, blah, 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 blah. So you got to make sure that you have your proof and evidence behind you. Whether it's a trusted person, a trusted scholar, or whether you know the proofs yourself, not for someone to criticize and to ostracize you. Last but not least, the masjid itself may have a policy in which they say sisters who are on their menstruation are not allowed into the masjid. That's the masjid rule. And they're following that madhab that states that. Then that's a different story. Don't cause confusion. Just like praying in your shoes. Don't come to masjid praying with your shoes and the masjid doesn't allow it. It's going to cause problems. Get the point I'm trying to make. Wallahu alam. Number 2, why do we have to say sallallahu alaihi wasallam when the Prophet's name is mentioned? Allah commands us to do so. And there's a tremendous reward in doing so. And we're all in debt to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Number 3, is cleaning and cooking another way of getting ajr? Suggestion and unbalancing all the work and still do all the work, etc. Praying sunnah regarding 20 pages of Quran, etc. A woman who cooks and cleans for her husband, for her children, there's no doubt there's a reward in that. A woman who maintains her household, there's a reward in that. And the reason why you're maintaining the household is because of the Islamic family dynamic. So if you do it with the intention of getting closer to Allah, obeying your husband, respecting your husband, making proper tarbiyah of your children, you'll get the reward, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, and yes, you'll be killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Just like a man will get the reward for working and feeding and taking care of his family. That's a fact. How do you know if a boy is good for you? Look at yourself. Knowledge of self, as they say. What type of person are you? Do you know yourself? Do you know your ups, your downs, your flaws? Do you know what you really like? Do you know what you want? So you have to look within yourself. What type of person am I? I'm very busy. This woman, she wants to marry me. She's demanding all of this time. Says she's not good for me. I'm very bored. I don't have much to do. The sister wants to marry me. She has all of these plans and she's going to structure my time. She's good for me. So you have to know yourself in order to know what's good for you. And you also have to know what you like, what you dislike. All right? Wallahu ta'ala. I mean, you can seek advice as well. Salam, how should we make our intentions, or how should we make sure our intentions stay pure throughout Ramadan? You check it, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. You make sure that you don't worship the people. You stay away from being praised by the people unnecessarily. And you do the same deeds behind closed doors, if not more. You ask Allah to give you ikhlas, to protect you from shirk, to protect you from riyah. Wahakadha. And most important is you be yourself. Don't overthink things. And don't fall into waswas, doubting things that shouldn't be doubted. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Do we need to be hasteful in making up multiple misfasts from when we were not practicing? If we can we fast Mondays and Thursdays and have it count as both wajib and sunnah fasting? Yes and no. You missed up those days. There's not too many years that went by, like 90, 120, 150 days to make up. You missed some days, yes, make them up as soon as you can. As far as making them on Monday and Thursday, then Monday and Thursday, as we explained in the khutbah on Friday, they're virtuous days. That's a fact. But the sunnah of fasting on those days is not the fard. They're two different acts of worship. So inshallah, you get the reward of the virtuous time, but the sunnah will never take place of the fard. And you making up those misfasts is fard. Wallahu alam. Off topic, but is it okay for us Muslims to consume red pill content that is gaining popularity? I'm unsure what red pill content is. I don't know what that is. The only thing I know about a red pill was from the Matrix. The blue pill and the red pill. Excuse me for my ignorance. I don't know what red pill content is. If there are any other questions with the time that we have left, maybe we'll take a few from online if the sisters don't have any more questions here. Question is from London. Initial ZR. Salam. If a woman missed Ramadan due to pregnancy and breastfeeding, postpartum for multiple years, does she have to make all the fast up, or can she give in charity? Jazakallahu khairan. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We've explained this many times in many classes. The safest thing to do is to make up the days and to feed a poor Muslim for each missed day. That's the safest thing to do. If you cannot afford that, or it's 5 years, 6 years, your health is too poor, or you don't have enough money to feed those poor people, then pick one of the two, feeding or making them up. And if you can't make up the days because there's so many years and it's a financial burden, then many of the scholars of Islam hold the view is that a woman is exempt from making those missed days up. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Question is coming from initials BD, East Orange, New Jersey. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Can women wear jewelry, accessories, and dress up on Eid? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. There's nothing wrong with that. Just make sure that you don't violate any rules with regards to wearing jewelry or fancy, flashy clothes in front of non-mahram men. As far as under your overgarments, or even wearing outer overgarments that are a little nice, some nice shoes, a nice bag, nothing that's against the sunnah. That's fine. And inside the house, sisters party, etc., that's also fine as well. Wallahu alam. BA from Dubai, UAE. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. May Allah give you goodness in this life and the next. I have come across in a hadith which the Prophet ﷺ encouraged tawakkul in Allah and advised the Sahaba to ask Allah for help. For example, the Sahaba will come down off a camel to get what dropped off and not ask others to pick it up for them. Could you elaborate on this hadith, please? And if a person is financially struggling, should she ask help from others, i.e. family, friends, or is this disliked? Jazakallahu khairan. Barakallahu fikum. There's no contradiction between those hadiths and between asking for help when you need help. If you don't have to ask the human being, don't ask the human being. You can do it yourself, do it yourself. You can seek direct closeness to Allah, that's what you do. But humans are needy creatures by nature. And the human being by nature needs that which is in the hand of the fellow human being. That's why there are wars. And that's why there's trading. And that's why people go from country to country, village to village, continent to continent, because you need what the next man has and vice versa. So therefore, if you need something from someone, financial help, it is not haram. It's okay to ask as long as you don't humiliate yourself. And as long as you don't harass the person. And as long as it's a need and you just don't ask just for the sake of begging. There's no contradiction between those hadiths. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Next question is coming from London, UK. Initials AM. Is being a midwife a good career choice for a Muslimah, especially one who wears a niqab and will have to remove it when she is seeing the patients and their families? If you wear the niqab out of obligation, you believe and you feel it's haram for a woman to show her face to non-mahram men, then it's unlawful, it isn't allowed for you to uncover your face, regardless, unless it's absolute necessity. And if it's not a necessity, then it's haram for you to show your face, midwife or not. So if you cover your hands and your face, and a big part of being a midwife is you showing your face to those people, then obviously that's a bad career choice. As far as if you don't cover your hands and your face, different story. As far as you only cover your hands and your face because you feel that it's recommended or at times, then that's also a different story. Wallahu ta'ala alam. What is the ruling regarding tight clothes, adornment around other women? Of course, you have to be shy. Has to be some bashfulness. But a big part of what a woman is allowed to wear in front of other women is based off of culture. That's a fact. And regardless of homosexuality and lesbianism, regardless of that, there lies no doubt that the culture of 2022, United States, how women dress around other women is very, very different than hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. It's a difference. How men and women dressed in general, the nature of the clothing that they wore in and outside of the house is very different. Rather, if you look at women's clothing indoors, let alone intimate clothing, whatever the case may be, lingerie of the 21st century versus the 20th century, the 30s, the 20s, it's like night and day. Underclothes are totally different, right? So therefore, Dutch is clearly established in Quran and Sunnah that a woman cannot wear in front of another woman, Muslim or non-Muslim. No discussion, there's no thinking about it. And that which is not clearly mentioned, it's not in the Quran or Sunnah, then a big part of that is going to go to those two principles. Principle number one, general safety through shyness. Principle number two, culture and custom. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Can I wear makeup? If so, how much and in what settings? It's lawful to wear makeup as long as the makeup doesn't harm your skin. And as long as you're not wearing makeup in front of people that you're not supposed to wear makeup. Your face is not to be adorned in front of non-mahram men. As far as in front of your husband, your son, your father, your brother, your stepson, around other sisters, that's fine. Also, I will say this, is that of course there's different type of makeup. A woman, she may wear some type of makeup which isn't an adornment. She may be trying to cover up a blemish or something like that. It's a type of beautification, but it's not the same as lipstick or rouge. It's not the same as mascara or kuhul or kajal or whatever the case may be. Wallahu ta'ala. I want to have a career but started to realize the roles of women in Islam. Many of the careers nowadays that exist may mean that I cannot tend to my children or ever do house duties. Is this okay for me to choose? How a woman works, if she works at all, is going to be a reflection of her practice of the religion. It's going to be a reflection of her culture, and it's going to be a reflection of her family structure. Some women have to work. They don't have a choice. Other women don't have to work. Some women, they work in careers or jobs which they don't have to be there. They can do other things and make just as much money, if not more. Some women work, have careers, and they dress modestly. They wear the hijab proudly. Some women, they work, they have careers, and they feel shy or ashamed or embarrassed, etc. So how you wear, how you dress, what you do, that's a reflection of your Islam. That's a reflection of your Islam. If you have children, if you have a husband, if you want to be a homemaker, then it lies no doubt you got to pick. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Many women, they have careers and they also have children. They manage and they balance. Alhamdulillah. But somewhere, somehow, some way, it's going to be something that's going to pull and tug at the other. Little too much work. I take care of my kids, but I'm a big homemaker and my career isn't pursued as much. So you have to balance that ratio. If you feel that you can't do your basic household duties and you don't have to work, why work? Wallahu ta'ala alam. We'll stop here. Jazakumullah khairan. Sallallahu sallam wa barak ala abdi wa rasulihi nabiyina wa imamina Muhammad.